We had 4,000 left on our bank account. That's it, 1-year-old child. And we had really good jobs in Ukraine. We worked in international companies. We were traveling to Maldives. And now we couldn't afford having a car, a used car for 6 months. Those 6 months were brutal. I literally walked straight into the office of the most loan-serving partner. I knocked on the door and there was a secretary and she's like, "Oh, sorry lady, you didn't book a meeting." I said, "Don't care." I couldn't care less. I need an answer right now. It's very hard for me to say goodbye. And I was thinking like, why did I go that far? And then I realized that I had to do that. If I didn't, I wouldn't have become who I've become.
Why do you have that certainty in that kind of uncertain situation?
2 skills. First is self-trust, and second is self-discipline. Because without the first, you wouldn't start. Without the second, you wouldn't continue and finish. You would give up.
Meet Anna, a high-performance and business coach, ex-finance executive, and a mother of 2, a woman who has truly lived 2 lives, the one she had and the one she was capable of creating. Born in Ukraine and now based in Australia, Anna's story is one of fearless reinvention. At 27, she arrived in a new country with a 1-year-old, no safety net, no friends. Yet she quickly built a 6-figure career in corporate finance before working away to follow a deeper calling. After 15 years managing billion-dollar portfolios, Anna realized true success means more than titles or income. It's about purpose, freedom, and alignment.
And at 23, I had a very traumatic miscarriage, which broke me into pieces. I always wanted to be a mom. So when I had my daughter at 25, 3 days before New Year's, it was minus 15 outside. A sunny day with a lot of snow. I opened the curtains and there was a sunny day and I felt like sun started to shine brighter. I spent $300,000 in the last 8 years. Not on Teslas, not on buying designer clothes, not on even paying the mortgage. I spent it on taking my kids around the world. There were like a beautiful fountains and music. And we just started dancing in the park. Me, her, and
so
our
beautiful.
5-year-old dear boy and my husband. And we were just dancing. And there was a crowd of people. She was hugging me, my daughter, and she said, "Mom, I'm so happy. Because, I don't care about what anyone else thinks. Just drink life, travel, love, explore, work, rest, just live, exercise. Don't just exist."
I'm truly grateful to receive so many heartfelt feedback from all of you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button and connect with us on social media, because your support isn't just support our show, it is a ripple effect that can expand and grow our show to bring more inspirational stories to more women to rise to their full potential, one conversation and another. So Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm really excited to have you and have this conversation on Women in the Penthouse.
Thank you so much for inviting. I'm glad I made it here all the way from Sydney.
Exactly. Firstly, I really want to say thank you for flying from Australia to meet me.
Yeah, it's a privilege. I'm excited to meet you. I love your energy. We connected like that from the first moment.
That's what I want to say. It's like I feel this really beautiful connection.
Yeah.
And all your great passion and support for this show.
Yes. And your motto, your 3 words that we're going to talk about, I'm sure, a few times today. And I'm glad to be here. And thank you for inviting me. I'm privileged.
At first, honestly, I was a little bit concerned about all the travel schedule. You just landed at Heathrow, I know, this morning. So all the traffic here in London. But the more I read your profile, doing my research, I can feel the energy from you. Then I was like, she will be so vibrant. Then look at you.
Look at me in casual.
Sitting here.
Casual.
No, refreshed, just sitting here. I can feel all the beautiful energy. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you always told your client that a person can have 2 lives. One is the life we are having now, and the other is the one we can create.
Yes.
We are capable of creating. And I think you literally creating that second life for you and your family. So at 27, you moved from Ukraine to Australia with a 1-year-old, with no safety net, no friends. But you quickly built a six-figure business career there, right? I think there are so many exciting details we can dive into to share with our audience how to do it fearlessly and limitlessly. But I think before that, we always go to the beginning of the story. Tell us a bit more about your upbringing in Ukraine and how those moments shape the version of you today.
Yes. I think it's actually a very good question because I just met my parents in Ukraine who are almost 80. And every time I meet them, and I'm very close with my parents, and I'm very lucky to still have them, on this planet and be able to hug them from time to time. And I call them regularly because they still live in Ukraine. And every time I meet them, every time I say, you know what, I'm so grateful to you for everything you've done to me. I know they've done whatever they could, they've done their best, but that upbringing and that education and that values that they instilled in me, and I think especially the fact that belief that I can do anything, I think that kind of determined to a huge extent how I went about everything in my life. Because when you grow up with a father or mother, especially my father, who was constantly saying to me, Anna, there is no such thing that you can't do in this life. You it just becomes part of your brain. It gets instilled so deeply in your brain that you, even if you didn't want to believe, you would believe that because that's something that people tell you, right? It's very important for us to have the right environment and the right, the right words said to us daily, and especially when you are a child. So I think my upbringing determined a lot how I went about everything in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. I grew up in very well-educated family. My parents were really, really into books and education and very academically strong. So I grew up with a library of 3,000 books. I slept in that room.
That's
pretty
wonderful.
much. My room was our library. And I grew up through most crazy times you can imagine because I was born during Soviet Union, and then I was 4 when Soviet Union got dissolved. And it was the worst times you can imagine. We couldn't buy anything. The money would lose their value 3-4 times per day. So, the mom would send me to buy sour cream and I would have some money. And by the time I would reach a shop to buy sour cream or milk, it would devalue so much that I would need to go back to my mom and ask for more money. And then I would do this 3 times per day just to buy something. So we grew up in that artificially created deficit by, Soviet Union. And then when Ukraine became independent, it was really tough times. So I didn't grow up in a rich family. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family, but I grew up in family who really loved me. And I remember when I was in school, how we always used to describe our family or our home, and we had to write like a little essay, and different kids wrote different things. But I remember, still it's with me to this day, my home is my fortress. So that's kind of how it was. And I think it still is, but just the family transitioned, from my parents to now having my husband and 2 children. So that had a huge impact on how I went about everything in my life.
Yeah. But it's a big contrast, actually. Your family gave you a lot of love, but you mentioned there are so many scarcity in the environment when you grew up.
Yes. Scarcity was... You're absolutely right. In terms of resources, yes, but not in terms of resourcefulness. And I think that's where
that's beautiful.
A lot of people get it wrong. They think they need a lot of resources to be happy, to be successful, to be calm, to be peaceful. In reality, we don't need a lot of resources. And there are plenty of examples, from Dalai Lama and all of the other examples and my personal examples. But you do need to be resourceful.
What do you mean by resourceful?
Resourceful, you need to be able to have that energy that you can then project into something, either create something beautiful from work-wise perspective, or give love to the world, or give love to your partner, or give love to your children, or give love, to everyone around you. But it all starts with giving love to yourself first, with looking after yourself first, with looking after your soul, your brain, and your body. And that's actually as well, when I was growing up, my dad used to tell me, Anna, you can be the smartest girl in the room, but if your body falls apart, that's not good. You can be, the prettiest girl in the room, but if your soul is empty and you haven't enriched yourself, it's not good. So always have this trifecta in place, as I call it, soul, body, and mind. Make sure you look after all three. It's that triangle. And then by doing that, you will create that beautiful bubble of resourcefulness inside you that you can then project into the world and create something beautiful.
And to take us back to that moment, you take that leap of faith, moving from Ukraine to Australia. So before that, there must be a lot of voices around you. Like we talk about, a lot of voices try to talk you out of that situation.
Absolutely.
Right? So
that was, and again, I was thinking about this on the plane this morning, because this morning I said goodbye to my in-laws, who I spent 10 days in Hungary with. So they drove from Ukraine to spend 10 days with my husband and myself in Hungary. So I said goodbye to my brother, I said goodbye to my family, my parents, I said goodbye to my in-laws. And it's very hard for me to say goodbye. And the older I become, the harder it is for me now to fly, emotionally harder, not physically still, but harder to be so far away. And I was thinking, like, why did I go that far? And then I realized that I had to do that. If I didn't, I wouldn't have become who I've become. That's my realization right now. So the identity that I've created right now, I truly think it's a huge extent to the fact that I went through the difficult immigration process and that uncertainty when I was 27 with 1-year-old child. It made me the way I am right now. But how I made the decision to do that is, yes, everyone was talking me out. My parents were begging me to leave our daughter, who was 1 at that time. They were begging us, Anna, just go, you and your husband, go and build a life and just leave her here, because it's so uncertain and it's so kind of unsafe, because you have no jobs, you just have paperwork. So we had only paperwork saying that we are residents now of Australia, but we've never been there. We had no friends. We didn't even have a name to put as a referee on the rental application.
Okay.
So I was pressing proceed, and it would just give me the red button saying put the name, and I had.
So you don't have
anyone.
One
so I had,
friend there.
Anyone. So I had to come up to find at least someone from Melbourne, the person who I hadn't met back then, even in person, who would I can even put the name and phone as a reference in order for me to proceed with the rental application. That's how hard it was. That's just one of the examples. So my parents were begging me to leave our daughter, and I said, there is nothing in this world that I need without her. Nothing. There would be.
Why are you so sure at the time?
I was so sure, because being a mom was something I wanted since I'd been 7. So, there are some things that you're certain about when you grew up. I was certain that I'm going to be okay. Again, because probably to a huge extent that my father was saying, you can do anything. I was certain that I'm going to be fine. And the same, I was certain that I'm going to be a mom. I knew I would do anything to be a mom. That's how much I want. I always loved babies. I'm very maternal, and I've always wanted to be a mom. And then I got married at 22, and at 23 I had a very traumatic miscarriage, which broke me into pieces. In the middle of my CA exam, with 500 people in the room, and I started bleeding, and they wouldn't let me out because they wanted to disqualify me, and I had to call emergency, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster physically, mentally, and emotionally, because I wanted it more than anything, and then life takes it away from you. Being 23, and in such a traumatic way as well, how it happened. But it took me some time to recover. I think I've never had depression in my life, but I think back then there probably were some signs of depression for a few months. My husband and I would quickly pulled myself out of it. And then, so I always wanted to be a mom. So when I had my daughter at 25, I always say, She was born 28th of December, 3 days before New Year's. It was -15 outside. A sunny day with a lot of snow. And I was in the hospital and I opened the curtains and there was a sunny day and I felt like sun started to shine brighter. Like I've never felt it.
So much light.
So much light. And she was sleeping here peacefully and her smell and everything. And I say to her still, like whenever we joke and everything, I said, I owe you the fact that my sun in my life started to shine brighter because of you. Because you came to this world to me, for me and in my life. So that's why, like, was not even a conversation to leave my daughter behind and just go without her. I wouldn't need anything. I wouldn't need anything in my life without her at that stage, like nothing.
So what kind of situation you were facing when you landed Australia?
Yeah, it was.
It must be like more challenges.
More challenges. We just
landed.
3 suitcases. $20,000, which is nothing in Australia, which I felt like we were so rich, but it's nothing. We kind of had to give half of it straight away to prepay for the rent because no one would give us the apartment. We don't have jobs yet. We don't have friends. We don't have references, and we have a 1-year-old child. So I said to my husband, so we were staying in the hotel, and we would get rejected. And I said to my husband, we have to come up with something that they're gonna say yes to us. And I said, we're gonna prepay the rent, which usually Australians don't do. They don't prepay for 6 months cash. And I said, we're gonna do that right now. And we had to give like whatever, 15,000 straight away. And we were able to lease for 6 months. Really bad apartment, but it didn't matter. We had now an apartment to live in.
At least a home.
At least a home for 6 months. And then within these 6 months, I found a job within 3 weeks after we moved into a place. My husband, it took him a bit longer, 5 months, which was really hard for him, by the way. But in 6 months, everything started to change. And then we rented in a different place and then a different place. And then we bought our place and then we sold and we upgraded and bought a beautiful place and then we sold again. So, step by step. But those 6 months were brutal,
But it started with you said, we need to pay this, we need to have a home, right? It's like, what kind of why do you have that certainty?
I think
in that kind of such an uncertain situation.
Yes. I think it's, I think I wrote it in one of my posts recently after, especially like I meet so many people and everything. And I say, if someone asks me, what skills shall I focus on in my life? I would say it's 2 skills. And the more I speak to people, the more I see that. And I look at my life, back to your question, 2 skills. First is self-trust. And second is self-discipline. Because without the first, you wouldn't start. Without the second, you wouldn't continue.
Wouldn't finish.
Continue and finish. You would give up. So 2 skills is like, and how, like you, if I had only whatever 10,000, 15,000, I would invest all my money to learn, to become that person who carries those 2 skills in themselves. I don't know, I would pay someone who would teach me how to do that. I would invest in self-help books, in podcasts, whatever it might take. Because, how I would know how come I was so certain in an uncertain situation, I think it comes to self-trust. Trusting, you will figure it out. Trusting that that's the way, we're going to try this, we're going to try that, we're going to try all the possible options until it works.
But many people may say, we know that, self-trust, but it's so hard, right? It's always the opposite, like we will talk about that, the doubt, right? The doubt always creep in and it's accumulated by all your previous experience in your body, right? So what will you say to them? Like someone they know I'm gonna trust myself, but they're a challenge, they're a failure.
Absolutely.
What will you say to them?
But you say it's hard. Of course it's hard. It's hard. But why would you think it needs to be easy? That's what I would say. It's supposed to be hard. I think the problem with many people is the expectation that process of self-trusting yourself, like trusting yourself or self-trust, should be easy. It's not. So you got to do despite. You got to still take actions despite the discomfort that you feel within. You doubt yourself I still do. I doubt myself all the time. I question myself all the time. And I still show up. I still show up daily. Wherever I question myself. I present in front of 200 people because I do public speaking, right? And every time I have this thought, is like, and because throughout my life, I was told so many times who she thinks she is. That I sometimes, would walk in, before walking into the stage, and think, I was like, who on earth I am to tell those people about X, Y, Z. But then I flip it, and those people came to listen to me. They came to me that I'm going to inspire them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's,
it's all about the reframing.
Reframing.
Right?
It is reframing, and it's okay to feel doubt. It's okay to feel, that lack of, confidence in that moment. That's fine. We still got to show up. Because that's how self-trust is built, actually. That's how confidence is built. You show up despite. And then it becomes like a bank account. It just grows if you invest day by day.
And like a muscle.
It's like a muscle.
It's always the muscle, yeah.
It's a muscle.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. You said it's always the easy mode and the hard mode, right? When I look back my life, it's always when you choose the hard mode. And it's so fulfilling when you finally achieved it, right?
Absolutely.
I always use this analogy, like in GMAT or GRE test, you have the hard mode and easy mode. So when you find the test is getting harder, that means you will get a better score and a better result.
Yes.
I find it so relevant to life. It's always like we can say, universe, divine, whatever you want to call it, source is testing you using those kind of hard situation, right? But every time you made a move, like you say, we show up, whatever doubt we have, then you find yourself, first you feel so fulfilled, the feeling.
Yes.
And you're so proud of yourself, you made it. Even if it's just a small step.
Absolutely.
Then it's all accumulated till you finally made that big move. You finally get, we say, maybe the next level.
Yeah.
Then you get new test. So it's
absolutely
it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because you get that belief that you can, which is the most empowering thing ever.
Yeah. How do you define fearless, being fearless?
It's interesting you ask me that question, because I think I would have answered it differently when I was 18, 25, and now at 38. And at 38, when I'm right now, because we are doing an interview right now, right? So I would probably say it's about pursuing what you think is right for you. I don't know. Because I think the reason why I say that is because I see so many people around me and so many clients, and observing throughout my life and, family and everything. I think so many people don't live their lives by design, and they don't live the lives they want to live. They live the lives they think they should live. They live the lives pre-designed by someone or by society or by expectations from someone. And it's funny because when you look at children, they just do what they want to do.
No limit.
No limit.
That's limitless.
Limitless. Fearless. Right? So that's obviously ageless as well, but limitless and fearless is with children. And then throughout the probably puberty or teenage age or our maturity, something starts to change in a very significant way.
Is that what you mean? Like the right life for it? Actually, this is my question. You said we should pursue the life we think is right, right?
Yes.
Is that the right life, the inner voice we hear and see the picture?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that I think we all have that voice and we all know what's right, but for some reason we just made it so quiet. Very often people make it so quiet that they can't hear it. And that's why reflection is so important. That's why staying, removing the noise, whatever it might be, distractions, everything, and staying in silence, I'm just, metaphorically mean,
Yeah.
and literally as well, in silence and listening to yourself and your emotions and your thoughts and reconciling heart and brain, because I truly think our power lies at the intersection of, reconciliation between heart and brain.
Yeah.
If you just lead with these, you're going to have miserable life. If you lead with this, you're going to have a careless life, so you're going to reconcile
Like
and
we
somewhere.
said, mindful and mindless.
Exactly. So to have that, you just need to be able to listen to yourself and reflect. And many people don't do that. And then the voice quiets down and gets even quieter and quieter. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And then there is so much noise, you have to do that and you have to do that. And what about that? And, everyone is doing that. Maybe actually that hype thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I interrupted you. Previously, you said it's different now and maybe when you were 20. So what was the fearless, like, what was the meaning at that time?
At that time, probably I would say doing brave things, like brave in the definition of brave. That's fearless, very literal. So I would understand. So I am very literal person still. I'm 38. But when I was a teenager, when I was 18-year-old, I was even more literal.
Okay.
So, going and protecting someone in danger, or going and, fighting for the truth. And just, I would always get in trouble in terms of, when I see that someone is doing wrong thing and hurting someone who is right, I would kind of interfere and protect, those people. Always get in trouble with authority for that, because I was like that since I've been a teenager. And it's funny because I was a top student in school in terms of grades, and I was probably one of the worst in terms of behaviors, because I couldn't care less. Like if you're a teacher who is 45, but you're humiliating a person who is sitting next to me, my peer, my co-student, and I'm 13 and I see that, I would stand up and say, don't speak to them like that. This is wrong. So then I would be called in the principal's office, immediately. That person will not be, I will be. And I would still think I was doing the right thing, and I still do. But I think that definition of fearless got broader for me. Got not that black and white.
Yeah.
It started to have shades. Even if, I work with people come to me, to build up the confidence, for example, some of the clients, and I work with them, and I see something in them that don't see them in themselves, right? And
do you have a framework you can share with our audience? Like if someone come to you and say, I'm still holding back by fear.
Yes. So usually with those people, I give them a challenging task. Challenging for them to go through. So how sometimes people joke, like you want to come to someone who will make your life easier. When you come to me, I'm going to make your life harder at the start in order for you then to have an easier life. So, I'm lacking confidence, then I just, after obviously the working for, interviewing a person and understanding the person, I come up with a couple of things that I know is going to be hard for them based on what they told me, and I give them the task to do that. And I give them the task, either I split it in parts and pieces, but I need to give them a challenge, a piece that they can bite and chew.
Give us
I give
an example.
Challenge. Yes.
Give us an example, like how.
Example, doing some, physical challenge. So, for example, I had a person who came to me. It's like, I don't like my body. I don't like how I show up, and that sort of stuff. And we started talking about that, and there were no exercises, there were no routines, nothing. I said, for the next 30 days, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna wake up at a particular point in time. So obviously we understand what's the time clock that works for them. And you wake up at a particular time. You're gonna do a big walk, 5 kilometer, every day. And then you're gonna have a healthy smoothie for yourself, and that's it. And then you're gonna go to bed earlier. Like that's what we're only going to change, nothing else. You don't change the meals, nothing. By only doing that for 30 days, that person came back to me and said, I feel like I'm on top of the mountain. Because what happens is that, of course, it happens on the physical level. You do good to your body, you do well to your body, so your chemicals start to work properly.
Yeah.
You breathe, you walk, you have a healthy breakfast. But also what happens to your self-esteem is that you keep promises to yourself. You said you're going to wake up and you go for a walk, and you do that. And you do that for 30 days. And then your subconscious, the subconscious that will constantly tell you, look at you, you're nothing. I know you. You're going to do that for 30 days, but then you're going to do that for 2 days, and then you're going to stop.
Yeah, you'll give up.
You're nothing. Look at you. Life is nothing. But then you prove to your subconscious. It's a dialogue. It's a dialogue between your conscious and your subconscious, because you're going to retrain your subconscious. That's what it's called rewire your brain. That's how rewiring is happening. It's NLP, all of
Is
that.
that the self-discipline part? You're part of it?
Yes, and that's why people pay me, because they don't have self-discipline. It takes time to develop it. So they pay a person who will hold them accountable, even though I truly believe the only person who can hold you accountable is you, yourself. But that's how it works initially, and if it's lucky if you had those systems in place from your family, from your parents, since you've been little, because they held you accountable.
Yeah.
And then it became your habit, your second nature. But I say, don't worry if you didn't. You can still pay people now who will hold you accountable, for example, like me, and I will not let you sleep. I will not let you. Will going to do the work, and what happens to you is that you then do it 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and your subconscious is like, oh, she's doing it. Oh my God, she's doing it. And then you retrain, you rewire your brain. You become a new person. You become that new identity that you're trying to build through pushing it through externally, through doing it. And it doesn't mean that voice will go away forever. No, it will probably going to be coming back. But I said to one of my clients recently, she came to visit me in Hungary, actually, and she lives in Bulgaria, and I'm moving to Austria. But she came to visit me in Hungary, and I said to her, but the thing is that the more you retrain your brain, the quieter that inner voice, that noise gets. So it comes up initially every 3 days, then every 5, then every 2 weeks, then every month. And then it just slowly getting
and
silenced.
your true inner voice gets stronger and stronger.
Yes.
Right? The self-trust.
And your new identity,
the self-trust part,
your confidence in who you are and what you can get stronger and stronger. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and you got to start, you got to start when it's uncomfortable. You got to start with tears. You're going to start when it's painful, with blisters, with blood. I don't know what it takes. For different people, different things. But you got to start. And it needs to be painful. It needs to be fun. I always say, if you come to a coach, you want to close a particular gap in your life, and it's comfortable, either you've hired a wrong coach, or it's not really a gap. Because when you're closing a gap in your life, it needs to be uncomfortable.
That's so true. So back to your life-changing situation, from you moving to Australia, that big life shift. If there's one biggest lesson you can share with our audience, what is that?
I would probably say there are only 2 situations in life that you can't find a way out. Only 2. First is when we are dead. And second, when we are lethally ill. We are about to be dead, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So we know we are dying from the illness that can't be cured. That's it. Everything else is figure-outable. Everything else can be fixed, pivoted, changed, redirected, reframed, retrained, rebuilt, fixed. I don't know how you want to call it, or whatever path, depending on the situation. But there are no situations that can't be worked on. I always say there are only 2 of those.
And it all started with self-trust.
It all started with self-trust, and it all started with doing daily actions through the discomfort. I'll give you an example in terms of, everything is figure-outable. So when I found a job, so we came here with 1-year-old child, obviously starting new life. I found a job within 3 weeks. I had to go back to audit. That was not the plan. Plan A was that my husband will find a job, and I will take it a bit easier train my daughter with a few English words because she didn't speak any single word in English. Now she's top of the school in English. But, and then I will find a job. But my husband started looking. He looked for a week, 2, 3, 4. No interviews, no calls, nothing. I said, we had $4,000 left on our bank account. $4,000, that's it, 1-year-old child. And we had really good jobs in Ukraine. We worked in international companies. We were traveling to Maldives. We were traveling,
a real lifestyle.
Yeah. And now we couldn't afford having a car, a used car for 6 months. So we were taking our daughter by bicycle to the childcare. And I'm fine. I'm so low key in those stands. Like I can, you can take everything away from me and I would be fine, like in a $1 shirt. I'm easy with that. But we were just running out of money and we had 1-year-old daughter to look after. If it was just me, I would be fine. But it was her as well. And I said, we're going to change the strategy. I'm going to apply as well. And I applied for a job and I got a call next day, I think. And I got an offer 2 days after that. And I remember I was going back home with an offer. And I remember I asked back then for 70,000 Australian dollars per year. And it's, which was much higher than what the average consultant was getting, was like 56 or something. And I said 70K, that's the lowest I'm going to do. Obviously, within 8 years, I grew to 250K, right? That's kind of the growth of my career. But back then, 70K, I knew I'm going to get, 4,200 net every month on my bank account. It will give us chance to stay in this country, to build life. For my husband still gives the time to look for a job. And I was crying. I was crying on the train because, I knew I would need to say goodbye to my daughter for like work 50, 60 hours weeks. She will be with my husband. And it was not what I was preparing myself for, right? But that's how the reframe happened. I knew my why. I knew why I was doing that. And I knew it's going to be temporary. Temporary. When you make something in your brain temporary, you say it's not for long. It's only for, and I said to myself, it's only for a year. It happened to be for 9 months. In 9 months, I changed job. My husband already had a good job. Everything changed. But back then, I had this job, so we were lucky. And then in 3 months, I will come to the office, open my laptop, and they send me a message. One of big 4 companies that I worked for in Australia. And they send me a message, thank you, your contract will not be extended from next Monday. Appreciate your work, something like that. And I remember I was staring at the screen. My husband still didn't have a job. And I'm like, this is not going to, why? I know I performed well. I know I delivered everything. I know I worked, longer probably and more efficient than everyone. And I called my husband and I cried. Like I said, I don't know what we're going to do that now. I don't know. We have no money, nothing. And he's like, don't worry, come home. We're going to figure it out. And I said, I will make it work somehow. I will make it work. And I remember I came back to my desk. I shut the laptop and I literally walked straight into the office of the most loan-serving partner who was in the office. I knocked on the door and there was a secretary and she's like, oh, sorry, lady, you didn't book a meeting. I said, don't care. I opened the door. I walked in and he was like, I think almost about to retire. He actually retired 6 months after that. And I said his name and I said, you got to explain what happened here. I know I've delivered. I know I've ran the project really well. I know, I'm doing a really good job. I need this job. I want explanation at least why you're not extending my contract. I know you need people because you're extending others. Why not me? And he was like shocked with my intensity, with my audacity. I couldn't care less. I said, I know you are the loan-serving or loan-standing partner in this firm, but I need an answer right now because I came here with money and I told the whole story in 3 seconds. I think my adrenaline was so high up that I couldn't even understand what I was doing. And
but I feel that's the real fearless and the limitless.
Absolutely. That was limitless for sure. And then he was looking at me. He's like, give me an hour. That's what he said. I said, thank you. And I left and I was shivering and I grabbed my laptop. I rushed home and I came and I saw my daughter and I hugged her and I cried so much. I said, darling, I promise you, mommy's going to make it work. Mommy's going to make it work.
That's beautiful.
I came back next morning, opened my laptop. I said, your contract is extended for another 3 months. And then they automatically extended me for another 3 months. And then after that, I was in another job, much better pay. But the thing is that, and we caught up for a coffee a few times with that partner. And I said, why did you do that? Like, why? And he's like, well, I called HR. I was trying to understand. They couldn't give me the answer. I couldn't see the reason. And I said, that's the thing. You're extended. We need people like you. And he was like, Anna, my daughter is your age. And I can't imagine her going through the path you went through. Like, I couldn't even imagine that. So your story is, is shocking, is impressive. Whereas for me, it was just a story, like normal story.
I think it's the authentic power.
Authentic power. And that's the example. There are no situation that can't be figured out. There is, everything is, you can make it work. If not this, then this. You need to find a way. Many people would have been more successful hadn't they given up that early. Many people give up way too early, and that's why they don't reach the peaks they want to reach.
And that's the limit. We naturally navigate to the next part. Actually, that's a limitation we set for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking about limitless, I know you are doing something very limitless, like you bring your children with you, traveling around the world. And you said it's a real education. That's so beautiful.
Yes. I do. And it's funny because I wrote a post on LinkedIn and it went viral. With
I saw that. That's beautiful.
With like 80,000 impressions or something. And I don't have many followers, but still I think I said that I spent $300,000 in the last 8 years, not on Teslas, not on buying designer clothes, not on even paying the mortgage. I spent it on taking my kids around the world. And that's a very intentional way of how myself and my husband, we see the upbringing process of our children. And that's how we see our lives as well. It's not something just, let's go, let's do. It's like, it's very intentional. So that's, my daughter, she's almost 13. She's been to 19 countries already. I was actually talking to my 13-year-old daughter the other day. We were in Hungary, in Budapest, and there were like beautiful fountains and music. And we just started dancing in the park. Me, her, and our beautiful 5-year-old boy and my husband. And we were just dancing. And there was a crowd of people. And she was hugging me, my daughter. And she said, Mom, I'm so happy. Because, I don't care about what anyone else thinks. People are looking at us and I don't care. I said, of course, darling, we don't. We just
I literally get goosebumps here.
Yeah. And then we were walking and I said, why did you specifically highlight at that moment? And she said, Mom, because I think I want to live life when I don't care about other people's opinions that much. She's 13, obviously. Like when you're a teenager, everything kind of gets simplified.
That's such an important period for life, right?
Yeah, it is important because it's that maturity is happening right now. And
for a lot of women, that's the time we actually had accumulate a lot of trauma because of comparison, because of secretly we hold some jealousy, right? It's just all the society conditioned to us. And we brought that with us for a long time. So I'm so happy when you said your 13-year-old daughter say, I don't care.
Yeah, I want to live life. And Mom, how we were
dancing.
It's
so beautiful.
Yeah, I said that's how we need to live life. You want to dance. Of course, within the limits, without, interfering into kind of the societal rules, just basic ones. But generally, people get so concerned and self-conscious about how they come across and what people think about them. And I think being fearless, to answer your question, is actually to try to park that, to ignore that voice and just pursue.
Ignore the voice from outside.
Yes.
And pursue the voice inside.
Yes. Make your voice louder than the voices of others people, of others and other people. So that's probably what fearless is to me right now. My boy, who's 4.5, had 30 plus flights or something. So I take them everywhere because I'm amazed how it shapes them. The levels of education of my daughter are very impressive. So not just, of course I'm biased, I'm mom, but when she speaks to people who are not our relatives or just neighbors, they all come up to me and say, how come she's so mature and can have such an adult-to-adult conversation? How come she knows so much? What do you guys do specifically? And I explain about our way of raising her and how we do that. So she speaks, obviously she's bilingual, she speaks 2 languages, Russian and English, her native. She understands Ukrainian and speaks some of Ukrainian, and she is also learning French and Spanish as her foreign. So, but on top of that, she also, when you talk to her, she knows, that Prada is not just a designer brand. She knows that Prado is also a museum in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that Hungarian language is a very unique language and is only used in Hungary, and how it was formed, and that, the Turkish Empire was ruling there, blah, blah, blah. So she knows history, geography, culture through the lens of being in those places. And I think it's easier to educate them that way. It's more expensive for sure, but it's easier, because I remember my lessons of history, I was bored. I was like sitting, I was like, oh, what am I reading here? Like, I hate this history lesson. And now I have huge gaps, which I'm closing by traveling and going to all these tours and exhibitions and reading and researching prior to.
But how can you commit it to that? It's so hard, It's completely a digital world, It's much easier, right, for maybe I would say most of the parents to just give them a screen, which I think most of the parents are doing that. Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely much easier, 100%, and that's why people do that. People tend to go with the path of least resistance, of course, but it's less enjoyable. And I'm all about fun, as well as I'm all about hard work. I have a crazy work ethics, but I'm all about fun. And, I help my clients always to prioritize fun and schedule fun in the diary and stick to it. I think it's very important. I'm a kind of work hard, play hard person.
Why fun is so important?
Fun is so important because it gives us resourcefulness.
Love it. It's back to the previous words.
Previous words.
Yeah.
Fun gives us that feeling of zest about life, feeling of joy. And fun is different for different people. But for me, when I wrote down my, kind of life vision, and my husband did it, we realized that travel is on top of our fun activities. And having kids is also on top of our fun activities and joy. So why not combining the two? And then also educating them in that sense. The way how she can navigate through the Dubai airport or LA airport herself now, being 13 years old, she knows everything. It gives her that resilience. When our flight get cancelled or, we were late or something, all of those little lessons, she observes how we navigate through that rather than just sitting at home and watching Netflix. So I think that's exposing our kids to variety of good things. It's amazing. I don't know what she's going to do with her life, but, everyone says, you're going to go far, Vavara. So her name is Vavara, and everyone says, you're going to go far, Vavara. I'm like, as long as you go to the right places.
Yeah, that reminded me of one thing. Time is not linear. Like 2 kids, maybe both 13, but she experienced much more in life. Right?
Yes.
That means like her time, maybe we can assume the time is much longer.
Much longer.
Her, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Absolutely. But that's also, it has its opposite side of the coin as well, because she doesn't sometimes feel like she fits in, because she's so different. When we are different, because when we are different, how kids and society and adults as well, we love to put tags on people. I understand, I don't understand, you're this or you're that.
Especially for a young girl, like it's
especially for a young
easier
girl
to be put in the box, right?
Yeah. Everyone is, playing, I don't know, computer games or something, and she's on her 5th trip around the world. She is different. But I always say, you're not worse. You're not worse, you're just different. And that's okay. And it's okay. Like, that's our lifestyle. That's our priorities. Then when you grow up, you define your priorities, your lifestyle. It's that, but when we're teenagers, that desire to fit in is pretty big, that's, which is okay for her, because I can see that she's getting more and more comfortable with who she is and her identity. But when you're a teenager, you have to be really mindful as a parent, to balance between those things.
So to someone who maybe didn't get a lucky opportunity to have a supportive parents like you, and maybe we get a lot of limitation, right? Like accumulated by the life experience. So what is maybe one advice you can give them? Like, I want to be more limitless. Like, I want to really break the limitation I set for myself.
Yes.
But I find it hard.
Yes. And look, we all have limitations. That's the first disclaimer. We all have, whether you had supportive, not supportive parents, someone is a bit more luckier, someone is less luckier, but we all have limitations. And I always say, it doesn't matter what happened to you. Your past does not define your future. You think it does, but it is not. Because what defines your future is your choices today. And the first choice you're going to make is that I will create my future different to my past. I'm going to create my future despite my past. I'm going to create a different future for myself, for my kids, for my family. Doesn't matter. But it's the choice. Everything starts with the choice. The moment you make that choice and you commit to it and you say, that's it, I'm building a new identity. I know it's going to be painful. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do that anyway because that's who I want to become. You then just build the execution strategy. And the execution strategy is about change your environment. If you can, move out of the city where you currently is, because environment defines us a lot. And the biggest impact you're going to have, 90% of that will come from your partner. So who you choose defines probably 90% of how your life's going to unfold. So be really mindful of who you choose to live with, because your partner can either bring you up or massively bring you down.
That's all about fundamentally the self-worth issue.
Yes.
Like
yes.
We don't think we are enough and we're worthy that person, that thing.
Yes. So that's comes to your execution strategy of building that new identity. You got to change your environment. You got to invest in mentors, in coaches. You're going to come to someone and say, you know what? That's who I want to become. That's where I am right now. Help me close that gap. You're going to find a way to earn that money. You're going to, everything needs to start to change. You need to start investing in your body, exercising regularly, eating healthy. It needs to be a whole revamp of what you do and how you show up. And I always say, do that for 12 months. Literally, what you read, who you listen to, who you spend time with, what goals you set to yourself, how you show up daily, how you overcome challenges. You do that for 12 months. You invest in yourself. You would be amazed what your life's going to become. 12 months is a long, long time. You would be amazed. The problem is that many people fail either at all of those stages or at one of those. They either choose not to invest in themselves, or they might not have money, but then they choose a belief, I can't change anything about that. So
it's a choice.
It's a choice, but there are ways. And I just gave an example when I had nothing, nothing, and I also had a huge commitment and responsibility, and you still can make it work.
Yeah.
There is nothing. I said there are only two situations when you can't make it work.
Okay, let's go to the final part. It's about age. What do you think about Ageless? What do you think age gave you?
Age gives me wisdom. Age gives joy. Age gives me joy. I don't know. I can't speak probably for everyone, but this is my perception of aging process. I I don't know, I carry it with grace, and I hope I will carry it with grace. I don't have any Botox, nothing. Again, it's a choice of everyone, but I made the decision that I'm gonna, age naturally. And when I smile, you can see my wrinkles now coming up. And my daughter always say, "Oh, Mom, it's because it says that you're a smiley person. You're a happy person." It's nice. But yeah, so I think it's all here in your brain rather than in your passport. Or even in your body. It's about, I said, my mother-in-law turned 66 a few days ago, and we were celebrating in a beautiful Hungarian opera. I love operas. So we went to a beautiful restaurant, and we went to opera. And when I gave a speech and said a toast, I said to her, for me, aging and when we're getting old is always signified by one phrase: I don't care. So when people say, I don't care, I don't care what happens tomorrow, I don't care how I show up today, I don't care what I wear, I don't care what's the weather outside, I don't care who's coming today, that's a bad signal for me. That's a signal that you're getting old. Like I'm talking about obviously elderly people, because sometimes we don't care when we have depression and we can still be 20-year-olds. I'm talking about, when you are getting older and you stop caring. You stop caring about, you stop being excited about something.
Yeah, curiosity,
excitement, joy, something to look forward to. I still care. So those are the things that we can still carry despite of how old we are. And I can tell you, I don't know, I loved my 20s. I would never say that they sucked or something.
Yeah.
They were beautiful. I had good 20s. I got married at 22. I had my child 25. Like any time of my life was beautiful in some shape or form. But for some reason I find like now being 38, I think it's the best time.
Oh.
It's the best time. And for some reason, I feel like women between 35 and 50 probably are in the prime time of their lives. For men, maybe it's a bit longer and a bit shifted. But, and then after that, we can still be excited. We can still have a lot of projects. So I say to my parents and my parents-in-law, I say, always have some projects to look forward to. Some things you're working in. For example, for my parents, we have our village house, and they plant fruits and vegetables. And every year it's a new cycle. And they have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
They have something to look forward to in terms of trips, seeing their grandchildren and us. But they also have this, their garden, and they're excited about that. And that's important.
What are you looking forward to for 40s and 50s?
For 40s,
let's talk about 40s.
40s, I am looking forward to growing my business and see my business thriving.
Career driven.
Yeah, so seeing my business, I feel really excited about what I'm building right now. I want to grow my coaching practice. I want to, spread that inspiration and spread that word about empowering not just women, but empowering people in general to take ownership of their life. And, I help people of all aspects. I help people from life perspective to build better lives, but I also help people to build businesses and scale businesses. So it's about living life intentionally. So I'm really excited about that part, which is really hard, because one thing is building a career, working for someone in big corporates, and another thing is starting from scratch, building your business. So when no one knows you start from absolutely different industry, absolutely different thing. It's a different beast. But I'm excited about that. And then seeing, my kids going to school and then going to university and high school, potentially maybe going to Europe to live for a couple of years. That's kind of our thought process as well, maybe. So I'm open to different things and opportunities.
Possibilities
always.
I can see the beautiful picture.
And for my 50s, I think I'm looking forward to maybe slowing down a bit. Or maybe my husband thinks I'm a person who never slows down.
I feel that too.
Yes. But funny thing is that when I go on beach holiday, I can just go 10 days, do nothing. Just swim, staring at birds. I can disconnect really easily. Like I can switch off. My sympathetic and parasympathetic systems work really perfectly. So, I go to bed, I fall asleep like a baby in a second, and then I have 96 sleep performance, 96%. So I sleep really well. So I can switch between the working.
I think that's because of you are in the being state. Like you are very focused in this, like the power of now, the presence. That's how you switch.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to just different exciting times and still traveling around the world. We plan to do sabbatical for 6 months and go to South America when my boy turns 10. So we already have that plan in place. And my daughter turns 18 and we're going to go to South America for 6 months. And then we want to do Camino de Santiago with my children and walk, they do that walk for like 8 or 10 days across Spain. When my boy turns 10. So we have quite a few things kind of already that we are talking about.
It's so beautiful. I think there's so much more I want to talk with you. I think we just have a time limit today. But you share so many beautiful tips for being fearless, limitless. But if we want to wrap it up, if you are having a chance to talk to yourself when you were 20 years old, what are the top 3 pieces of advice you would say to her?
Top 3. Number 1 is get marry that man. He's amazing. Well, jokes apart, but I truly believe that choosing the right partner is very, very important. And I made a right choice when I was 22. I'm very, very lucky. It's not just luck.
I think we need to talk about that next time when you are here.
Yeah, hard work. It was hard work. Exactly.
I know you have a beautiful story of rebuilding your marriage.
Yeah, I've been married for 16 years. But yes, choosing the right partner. I would probably say if you are a girl in your 20th, be really careful with who you choose and be open. Do not be closed. Many women are shut now from love, from care, from connection. Don't. But be really careful not even just who you spend your life with, but who you have children with, especially who you have children. So that's first, because it's going to define how you're going to go about life a lot. Number 2 is that live life fully. So that's for sure. So that's what I would say. Travel a lot. Just drink life. How would you drink a juice when you're thirsty? Drink life. Travel, love, explore, work, rest. Just live, exercise. Don't just exist.
Yeah.
Number 2. And number 3, work on your self-discipline forever until the moment you die. Self-discipline and self-trust, as I said. Self-discipline and self-trust. 2 things, and then everything's going to come as a consequence of that.
It's such a beautiful integration when you mention it. It's the discipline and enjoy life, drink it, the joy.
Yeah.
That's the perfect, I think, balance of creating.
Cocktail. It's a perfect cocktail.
Back to our theme, like creating your best life, right?
Yeah.
Right. So finally, I ask every guest, the final question is about the Penthouse Rule. Women in the penthouse, we want to redefine the penthouse life. Penthouse used to, still I think related to the top, like material affluence, but we want to redefine that. It's not resisting like material, it's that integration. Like when you have a beautiful mind, your mind is peaceful, it's joyful, having fun, drinking life, then you have this beautiful space, your own space as penthouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we discussed in all this conversation. So if you can leave one penthouse rule for the audience, just one.
You have only one life, so you'd better live it right in accordance to your own feelings.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Anna. It's truly beautiful conversation. There is so much wisdom. And I think you also give us a lot of practical tools to navigate fear, be more fearless. I just wish we have more time.
Thank you.
I think I have
I'll come next time.
Actually, so many questions still on my agenda, but it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.